As a child, I remember having just the best childhood I could think of. And then when I turned 5, we moved to Sioux City, Iowa, and I remember that being part of the hardest pieces of my life. I experienced racism for the first time. I had a lot of bullying done to me. And having a blended family, it left me in places sometimes not knowing exactly where I belonged. I felt like I didn't know who I was or what I was supposed to do with myself. Then I ended up taking those feelings of being lost and alone and abandoned, and I put them into finding acceptance in everything I did. I worked hard in school. I tried to be the most likable person I could be simply because I was afraid of being left behind and rejected and forgotten. And then I ended up having a moment where I didn't feel fulfilled in all the things I did. I felt like everything I did was to earn a place in somebody else's life, but there was nothing in it for me. I then went through a period of time of just self-hatred. I could not stand the person that I was because I felt dead inside. I felt lonely and I just wanted my life to end. I started using drugs and alcohol, anything to numb the pain inside of me. I had different relationships and lived a promiscuous lifestyle. I started living by the rule of whatever made me happy in the moment. I didn't care who it hurt, what bridges I burned, what it ended up doing with my life. All I cared about was, in this moment, I needed to feel something other than self-hatred. Nothing mattered to me anymore, and I was too afraid to commit suicide, but I so badly wanted to die. I put myself in extremely dangerous situations, standing in the middle of the street at 4:30 in the morning in the rain, hoping somebody would just take me out of my misery. Yes, I had a job and I had a house and I had friends and I was doing life, but everything inside of me was dead. I ended up pregnant, and in that moment I realized I need something better for my child. I could not give my baby the lifestyle of couch surfing and random parties and never knowing what was going to happen in the next moment, because I was so far out there that I didn't even care about my own safety. It was at that time that I ended up coming back home and I started going to church. I thought I was living for God. I did the things. I read my Bible. I went to church multiple times a week. I prayed. But I never had that connection with God because I was simply doing something for somebody else. I wasn't connecting with God because I wanted Him. I was connecting with Him because I wanted Him to do something with my life. It was through a tragic experience of going to early labor that I ended up finding myself in a place of saying, God, I need you. I need you to help me. And I've realized that I can't do this on my own anymore. I need you to take away the pain inside, because I knew that if I lost my child, I was not going to be able to survive. I was really going to die in that moment. I prayed to Him. I begged Him, please, I'm sorry for turning my back on you. I just need you to meet me where I am. And it was in that moment that I just felt the presence of God wash over me. And I laid there and just thought to myself, I don't know what's going to happen next, but if I could feel this peace with whatever else happens, then I would be fine, because I no longer felt afraid and dead, but I felt peaceful even though I was in a very scary situation. I lived a life of destruction, and my goal was to destroy everything in my way so I felt safe. And I realized that whenever I found God and I started living for Him, I was so afraid to admit that God delivered me from those things that I was not fully healing. I couldn't do anything other than survive in where I was at. So I ended up spending time really digging into God and really looking at what was it about me that God did? What did He redeem? What qualities did I have? As I looked through it and I saw the way that God took me from the broken home and into a home full of a loving family, He took me from being a person who stole to a person who gave, somebody who went from being manipulative to being able to see others' points of views. God was using me in a way to help heal others and to help them feel seen. I was able to step into the place that I wish somebody was able to do for me. It was through that and spending time with God and really thanking Him for the victories He made in my life, of helping me to become a mom who homeschooled and stayed home, raised my child. I ended up opening a business. I worked for a church. There were so many things that God brought into my life, a healthy relationship, and an even greater relationship with Him, where now I turn to God before I go to anybody else because I know that He's going to give me the answers I need. I lived a life of just surviving, and it was through Jesus that I began to flourish.